Mayor Cowie,
Here.
Chairman Grumhouse,
Here.
Alderman Novit,
Here.
Alderman Woodman, Alderman Goltra,
Here.
Alderman Morsch,
Here.
Alderman Hanrahan,
Here.
Alderman Luby,
Here.
Alderman Palmer.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Kathy. First item on the agenda is consideration of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting held on March 15th. There were a lot of minutes in there. Any questions, comments?
there
or-
were.
I'll take a
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, budget issue update. City Manager Robert Kiley. Bob, do you want to take this now, or do you want us to go to the bonds first?
Why don't you go ahead to the bonds first?
Okay. We're gonna-
Since we got special guests here.
Kathy, we're going to go to item 4 on the agenda, which is consideration of an ordinance authorizing issuance of $18,425,000 of general obligation bonds, Series 2010A, 2010B, and 2010C.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we had a very successful successful sales today, 3 of them, the A, Bs, and Cs, and Mr. Dan Forbes from Spear Financial is here to review the details with you.
Good evening. Good to see you again. Appreciate it, especially Bob. I haven't been special in a very long time. So, overall, the sale went extremely well. Let me make a couple general comments. As you mentioned the last time I was here, rates have been kind of drifting up, especially on the short end. So I was getting very, very nervous as we were proceeding towards the bond sale to see how we performed versus the model. As it turned out, we beat the model by 7 basis points on true interest costs, which is really the way you look at this. It's a kind of an average of interest rates and includes the underwriter's expenses or spread on the deal. So with the 7% or 7 basis point improvement on the model, we were also able to keep it within the 2004 debt service extension limitation that is always there. The remaining capacity, our last model had 10.9 million left, and this is again kind of it's not a hard number, but we moved from 10.9 to 11.2 million. The capitalized interest that we're going to fund out of fund balance to take care of the December 10 payment, and that was planned in the whole all the way along. We budgeted 191. It came in at only 151. As far as all of the kind of important points versus the model, you exceeded and went through it, which was wonderful. Having said that, if you look at the packet itself, there is a Spear packet here, and I'll go through rather quickly each of the series and then be happy to answer all the questions. We had 3 series of bonds. Again, there was a $10 million tax-exempt portion, which were the A's. The B's, which were $3 million, which covered the long bonds. These are the bonds for which you get a 45% Treasury rebate. So we put those out at the far end to get the biggest bang for our buck as far as interest rebate. And then the ones in the middle are the Build America bonds. Those were the Series C bonds for about $5 million. And $5,425,000. So the first page is a letter talking about the bids that we got on the $10 million piece. That's the 5-year piece with the 3-year call. Again, the expectation is these will be paid ahead of their maturity from proceeds from the sale of the prior building or the older building. We had a very competitive sale. If you look at the second page, this is the printout from the computer. There were actually 17 bids. We used a system whereby bidders got to see what place they were in, and they got to rebid. And everybody but the first and the last only bid once. There were, on average, 3 to 4 improvements in their bids, jockeying around between whether they thought they were low or how they can move up. So it was a very competitive, almost eBay-ish, as much as I hate to use that term, a methodology that we used that was very successful. The winning bid, which is BMO Capital Markets, because it is a short piece, they bid with a large premium, $342,400. That premium, so we didn't have an overissuance of bonds, we took that out of the principal amount of bonds. So we're only issuing on the Series A bonds. The par amount that we're going to issue for those is $9,665,000. That's in the debt service page 4 pages in. So again, that's a lower amount simply because the bidder wanted to pay the city a premium on those bonds. Very competitive sale. The low bid was a 2.3389. We revised the TIC based upon the revised principal amount. It remained the same. Something changed maybe in the 10,000th or 100,000th place. And so that, the A series was a very successful bid and very competitive. The B bonds, which were a little harder to bid, again, these were $3 million. If you look at the B summary page, and again, that's Mesro, I apologize with the typo on that one page. But Mesro Financial was the low bid, and they bid with a 3.18 post-rebate interest rate. And to get 4 bidders on this particular series of bonds was wonderful. It was $3 million if you go to the debt service schedule on that. The bonds matured in 29, 30, 31, and 32, so you had to sell a lot of long bonds. You couldn't make a lot of profit. And so to get 4 bidders, especially people interested, Mesero bid actually through their New York office instead of Chicago. To get that kind of interest on these bonds, I think that was wonderful. And certainly, I believe these bonds were sold just as a term bond, one maturity in 32. So I suspect they probably went to just one purchaser, maybe 2 out in New York, one of the fund managers. The Series C bonds, there were 3 bids for those. Very competitive. If you look at the bids, especially the 2 low bids, Robert W. Baird bid out of their New York or New Jersey office, and Morgan Keegan, which has actually been winning a lot of the bad bids. I think they might have scared off a couple other bidders because they actually have been relatively dominant these days with the other sales we've seen. They ended up at a 3.28%, and when you look at the maturity schedule for those, again, we're looking at some longer bonds there. I think it's just wonderful. These are the bonds where you get the 35% rebate from the Treasury back. So when you add them all together, if you look at, there is an aggregate debt service schedule. I won't even ask you to go to the exact page, but what was important is when Kathy was here last, I think she was asked what we expected the TIC to be, and it was 3.02. We ended up at a 2.94. So the A's were a little bit above the model, but the B's and C's were appreciably below. So overall, you met your goals. The Moody's report is at the very end. Again, they had wonderful things to say. This is always a good jumping off point for me to say that staff did an amazing job, especially Kathy. Kathy, in talking with Moody's, they trust her. She has wonderful credibility. She's also helped me tremendously on the modeling. This became a very, very, I should say, because of all the tax restrictions, bond counsel and local counsel and Kathy and I had to work very closely to make sure all the restrictions were met. And so I really can't say, I can tell you honestly that you did tremendously in the market. I don't think it really could have gone much better. You picked a wonderful time, and for the amount you issued, I think you issued certainly at a great time this year. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to address those.
Questions from the council?
Can you help me with this bullet again? I know we're thinking about when we're gonna receive proceeds, Kathy.
Yes.
Do we have to pay anything for that call feature in there? Do you think?
You did have to pay
Yeah.
something. I can't tell you exactly what it was. You probably have to pay some sort of premium in the interest rate for the 3-year call, yes.
Yeah.
And I can get back to you as to what it is, but the choice was really between a 1-year or a 2-year call. The bonds are now callable in 13, and the maturity's in 15. This gives you a little extra room, and I don't think you paid really appreciably more to do that 13 versus 14. And if you can pay these off, you know, sooner.
Did we look at doing the whole issue as BABs? Did we do that runs and trade-offs here?
We did.
Because
Very-
why not put some of that money out a little longer? I mean, the likelihood of us getting that
Just
number
the
in,
The short answer is bond council
Right.
wouldn't allow us
Right.
to do.
they wouldn't?
No.
Okay. Oh, that's
There were
right.
tax
We went over that the
Yeah,
last
too
time.
many use
right.
of proceeds.
No, I got it. I got it.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
that's fine.
I forgot about that. Because we would have done that. You would have done that because you're a great financial advisor, right? You
Yeah,
would have recommended that.
if that's what you'd like to believe, thank you. No, we would have tried,
Okay.
but yeah,
I got you.
thank you.
That answers my question. Thank you very much.
Any other questions on this?
Well, congratulations. Again, thank you to Kathy, bond counsel, and certainly local counsel. But we do very much appreciate. The one thing I should point out, though, if you do read the Moody's report, as you would expect, they have wonderful things to say about the financial management of the city. They really do. And one of the things, we talked at length with Moody's, they're very impressed, is the budgeting process and how much work you put in and how you adjust to certain revenue challenges that you have, everybody's having these days. So if you read the report, I would encourage you to do so. They have great things to say.
Great. Well, I just want to thank you, Dan and Spear, for all your efforts. I think this is the second or the third very successful offering we've had with you, and we have a lot of confidence in you, and we're grateful for the efforts, and obviously your compliments to Kathy we all share as well. We know we're very lucky to have her leading us here, and as usual, she's come through with in great fashion. So I do need approval of the ordinance authorizing the issuance of $18,425,000 general obligation bonds.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will get another look at, we will obviously have to approve that at the council meeting.
This is the time to toast the finance chairman, too. Thank you.
Oh, well,
Thank you, Dan.
I get a lot of help from Kathy. I don't know how much I deserve, so. Next item is consideration of an ordinance making a supplemental appropriation for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2009 and ending April 30th, 2010. Kathy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the meeting that we typically do this supplemental appropriation, and we do only have two this year. One is for the liability insurance fund that was established in January of 2010. IRMA is on a calendar year, so when we moved from the $2,500 to the $25,000 deductible, it was with the purpose of establishing a fund to create a reserve so that eventually we could become self-insured. So in order to do that, this fund did not have a budget in January, so we are asking for the budget amendment in the liability insurance fund of $436,000. And then in our self-insurance fund, we did have about $100,000 more of claims than we budgeted for. It was a high claim year. We did hit the stop loss on 2 or 3 people. However, this fund does have a $4.2 million fund balance, so the $100,000 will come from there. Are there any questions about the supplemental appropriation?
May I get a motion to approve?
A motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Kathy.
Okay.
We will also have that on the council agenda. I think I will then go back to Bob for the budget issue update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. If you take a look, there was a sheet, I think, included in their packet, wasn't it, Kathy? An update. It's actually sort of an Excel spreadsheet, looks sort of like that. Kathy, did they get copies of this in their packet?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll quickly run through this, and these were items that had come up at your budget meeting on the 15th of March, and I just wanted to brief you as to sort of where we're at with all those. Shortly following the meeting, we did send out the sales tax category information that broke it down by category, so hopefully that answered that question. Also, as a follow-up to the performance management, asking you to let us know if there was any other specific areas that you wanted us to measure. Just to brief you on that, we have finalized some with the department heads, and those will be included in the budget document. But we will also probably be in sometime in the first quarter, near the end of the first quarter of our fiscal year, so probably July, August, we will be bringing back to you some results of what we are tracking and what we're finding and whether or not we need to modify those performance managements at that point in time. The Traffic Safety Coordinating Committee is following up on the questions regarding the Waukegan-Wesley intersection. I did have an opportunity to speak with Dr. Griffith of 67-115. They are in agreement that this project should be sort of put on hold because they don't have any funding for it as well, but we will all continue to aggressively look at any other outside funding sources, and he was going to talk, I think it was Alderman Hanrahan's suggestion that we talk with the other school that's out at West Campus and see if there are any funding opportunities through that school as well. So we are still looking at those opportunities, but right now that project has sort of been put on the back burner. Fleet Committee, we do have 2 other names to serve on the Fleet Committee. If anybody has any others they want to send me, please do so, but we have 2 names that we will be getting a committee meeting together and reviewing the fleet study with them before bringing it back to the City Council, probably sometime this summer. Value of the fleet, Michael Thomas is working on that, and we'll take that first to the Public Works Committee once we have that information, and then to the City Council. You did receive in your last City Council packet about the water rate survey and what communities are looking at over the next couple of years for their increases as well as ours. Michael Thomas, and I will defer to Alderman Luby on a couple of these things because they did follow up with them and we're scheduled to talk about them at the Public Works Committee, but we cut your meeting short, so I'm not sure if we had a chance to look at all of those things. That goes with the plant, the service leak detection, the refuse collection, and then I believe the Public Works Committee also got their calendar. Public Works Committee is going to be pretty busy in 2010, looking at a number of these issues.
We did cover those other topics.
Okay, well then I'll turn it over to you and let you follow up on those 2 then.
Well, certainly on the leak detection, they've done a good job in identifying the leaks, getting most of them taken care of. We're down to the last 40 or 50. That right now we're not sure how much water, but it looks to be very expensive to do the repairs. It's underneath things, etc. So we asked them to go out, Michael Thomas to go out and sort of come back with an analysis. Is it worthwhile financially to fix a very small leak in a very expensive spot, with exactly what the cost will be to do that. So we've done a good job with it. We're down to the end on those leaks. They did find a couple of, I think there were 4 rather good size that have been taken care of. So that's where we are with leak detection. He'll be coming back to.
Are these residential or what are they?
Some were residential, some were joints, they were all kinds of different things they found. The ones that are left are pretty much residential now, going back to the houses. And again, when it's, some of the locations are pretty, they know that there's some water going, but they don't know exactly where it is, and it's not bubbling up to show a spot. So by the time they go digging and hunting and tearing up, driveways and whatever else is in the way, it may not be worthwhile the costs involved. So we're looking at that. They're going to report back with the ones and how they feel it will come to economically. Is it worthwhile for the water that's going out? On the recycling end, we're looking at the carts. We had the question of, should we just go out? And he said it's about $300,000 to buy larger recycling carts on wheels. We had some discussion. For some people, where are they going to store it? Others, it's a heavier cart to drag down a long driveway. They can't just put it in the trunk of their car and bring it down. They'd have to tie it to the trailer hitch or something. So he was going to look at that further with the houses and kind of give us an analysis on how much stuff is being recycled. And then what we thought we might do would be, for those homes that recycle a lot, would be to give them a flyer and ask them what they think about the idea of getting a bigger one on wheels, and kind of doing an analysis of the amount that's coming out into recycling, and looking at that in relationship to, could garbage be picked up once a week by increasing the recycling. So they'll be coming back with more information on that, and we didn't have a lot of time to discuss what we're going to do and moving ahead on that, but we are going to be taking a look at it
Yeah, I mean, one of the issues you're gonna find is that the houses that make the most recycling make the most
In most
garbage.
But if we can get it in the recycling bin and get it out
Wow.
on the street, that was it. You have a lot of garbage, you got cans sitting around with a lot of stuff in the house, that's a problem. So we're looking at it, taking it slowly, and then try to get feedback. Again, we also discussed that there's even some knowledge on recycling what is a good product, or what should be recycled, and we know that people really aren't clear on that. So it did come up, maybe an inside Lake Forest recycling program should come on our cable show and do that and show it to the citizens. This one's good, this one isn't, and go through it all on a light way of doing it with an interview and discuss the whole program. Might be good for the homeowners to see
Well,
that.
I mean, one way to do it also, and this would be to have the garbage men, the garbage collectors carry a little something, because I'm sure they notice what gets thrown in there. And,
Well, that was the idea, with leaving,
they could leave a sticky on the garbage can that says, some polite note, you can
the beer
recycle.
cans and bottles should be in the recycling bin. Move the wine bottles over to this bin instead. And that was our idea, though, that these guys are out in the field and they may be able to put some little, signs or something in the mailbox or tie it to the recycling bin with what is out there and what people can be doing, rather than just simply say everything changes at once. So we want to move into it. So, is there any others on your list?
Well, I would ask Alderman Grumhouse, since we have some extra time here, would you like Alderman Luby to just run through the rest of the Public Works items? Because it basically makes up the bulk of your agenda this evening.
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple other things on the finance side that maybe we should get through, and then we can come back to it
Yeah,
if
okay.
that makes sense. Any other questions on Bob's schedule here? Okay. Next item on the finance agenda was other business. Everyone received a copy of the flash report for the month. I'm looking forward to get to the next fiscal year when we can wipe the slate clean again. I think it tells pretty much the same story that we've been seeing in past months. I think, the one number that sort of had stuck out to me this month was the utility tax, which continues to get worse. And I had sort of hoped that with the cold winter weather that maybe we wouldn't have seen that. So I did ask the finance staff to put together just some spreadsheets showing the three components of that, which are the electric, the gas, and the telecom tax, and just, show what the amounts were by month for the last 3 years as, a way to compare. Certainly if you look at this fiscal year, electric is down, about $60,000, which is about 5%. Gas is down $160,000, which is like 15%. And telecom actually is down about 50,000. Clearly the electric and gas are being influenced by commodity prices and the fall in both power and gas prices. Electric, I would say, is probably all commodity. The gas is actually worse. We had obviously tried to budget this, and I think we're pretty, we were fairly pessimistic about where gas prices were going to be. So I'm somewhat embarrassed that we, or I should say I, because I think I gave the inputs, have missed on this so much. And one of the interesting things is obviously usage in the winter was much higher because it was colder. But I think that didn't make up for the fact that gas has just been so low, and that must be what we're seeing. We may also be seeing some sort of conservation. I will report back after I see the gas company's first quarter numbers here in the next few weeks. But clearly we continue on these utility taxes across the board to take in less there, and that's probably a reality that's not going to change much. Maybe if the economy continues to come back, we'll see prices go up. But unfortunately, both electricity, unfortunately at least for revenues, electricity and gas are both really driven by the price of natural gas, and the price of natural gas is, I think closed at about $3.92 a day or something like that. So, it's historically very low, and if you look even forward in the next couple of years, it's not expected to get much better. So that's something that we will probably have to continue to budget and work through. Were there any other questions on the flash report?
Just a quick question, and it's just reflection, and maybe Kathy or Bob might know, but for the decrease on the utilities, is there any effect just on vacant homes, foreclosed homes? Percentily, yeah, I mean, would that, it would have an effect, of course.
Yeah, it definitely would have an effect.
But
Absolutely. And also vacant businesses as well. For example, Salton Buildings is just sitting out there. So,
which could explain the difference.
And that may be part of it too, is that the building, the commercial side of things is lower. And that's something that the forecaster probably didn't take into as much consideration as he should have.
we won't hold that against
I
us.
just had the question, have we seen a rush in real estate transfer tax going into the end of this month? I'm just wondering with the credit.
Yeah, but the credit, I think, runs out at what?
April 30?
290.
Contracts have to be signed by the 30th.
By the
closed
30th,
by June 30th.
closings by June 30th.
But I think that the maximum house is like 300,000, right? Or
Right, something like that.
No, it's graduated.
it's
based on
graduated, but it's
income.
not that high, right?
They're all the less expensive homes selling? Is that all? Yeah. I thought we'd see more activity there. See a lot of moving trucks around.
Moving out.
And we have a new neighbor across the street.
Any other comments or questions on the flash report? Next item on the agenda is the opportunity for the public to address the Finance Committee on non-agenda items, or agenda items, I guess.
You want me to cover any of the other items too?
Hearing no one, we have some time. I guess it makes sense to turn it over to John. I think we have a couple items, right? We have the property, the city-owned property, and we have the pavement.
I can go through
Well,
the
if
pavement
we can
quickly.
skip over the property, because our intern would very much like to make her presentation during prime time, but.
Are you sure of that? Should we give her an option?
The drum roll and
That's right. Well, why don't we start with the Public Works Committee report and the award of contract for the street resurfacing, and we'll just go
Yeah.
right through there.
We were very fortunate for Field Drive, Field to Field Court, and Route 60 in Old Elm. We went out for bid. We came in with the low bid of Peter Baker at $1,160,267.39, which was considerably below what we had expected in going into it. We were very pleased. With that, we had a little extra money, so we're gonna be doing some paving on Wisconsin from Woodland to McKinley, from Meadow Lane to Woodland to Elm Tree, Washington Road from College to Woodland, and Ringwood Road from Ringwood to Sheridan Road with the additional funds. And we also got some other bids. We had the Everett School driveway is in need of repaving. So we went to Peter Baker, who also gave it to us at the same price as his major bid for another $46,000. We were able to get that done, and that will come from the TIF funds to pay for those repairs at Everett School. So the overall contract was very good this year. We'll ask for final approval at the council meeting. Any questions on that? Then we go to Green Bay Road, which we've discussed. Again, that one went out. That's being paid 100% by the state of Illinois. We actually are getting the money on that. The $762,696.72. I always find it interesting that there's change on these contracts for roads, but Peter Baker again had the low bid on that one. We were again below what we thought it would be, and so we were very successful this year in that paving as well. Holland Court,
Wait, can I?
Yes.
Can I have you hold for one quick second, because I did ask Ramesh to put up on the board. This came up pretty much, I think, every ward meeting we've had so far, about the scheduling of Western, Green Bay, and Waukegan. And
And Old Elm.
and Old
Yeah,
Elm,
Old Elm.
and the fear that everything's going to be closed at once. And so I asked staff to put a graphic together and tell you, at least to the best of our ability, realizing that we don't control all these projects, but to the best of our ability, how we're trying to minimize the impact to the residents. So Ramesh?
Thank you, Bob. Members of the council. For the most part, the projects which, we listed the five, what we call are the five major projects in the region, affecting Lake Forest. The first one which started today is the Waukegan Road resurfacing between 60 and Gage Lane. The schedule calls for 2 weeks of curb repair, which started today, and then the actual paving resurfacing is going to start May 1st week. That project should last, we are hopeful that maybe a month and a half, and they should be wrapping the Waukegan Road. Again, it's a grind and resurface, so during grinding, there'll be some traffic delays, but for the most part, they grind and we can ride on that pavement, and then they'll put back the surface layers. So that's the simple resurfacing job. We have the Waukegan Road streetscape. Again, in this project, this does not involve any lane closures, nothing. It's simple installation of new street lights. The plans are at IDOT right now, awaiting their final approval. This does not entail any lane closures or any traffic disruptions. It's installation of street lights and putting some, I think IDOT agreed to put some, what we call is a paint, not so much the brick pavers, but kind of they call the stamped concrete at the intersections. The two projects which we have control are the Green Bay Road and Western Avenue. Again, Green Bay Road, we are anticipating to start, in the May 1st week or second week, and we will notify the contractor that when the Western Avenue paving work south of Deer Path up to Vine is going to be done, the detour traffic, when it is on Green Bay, it has to be open for 2 lanes. So we will coordinate that work on these projects because those both are city projects and we are inspecting that project. So again, Green Bay Road is a grind and resurface. First thing they'll do, similar to Waukegan Road, they'll repair all the curbs and structures, and then they'll come and grind the road and then repave it.
And so we're gonna start that and then stop it while we do Western Avenue and then come back to it?
No, what they'll do is they'll do all the curb repairs right now, May, June. The way we are anticipating Western Avenue, we are anticipating 1 lane when we are doing the east side of Western Avenue between Deer Path and Vine. At that time, we're gonna reroute the traffic to Green Bay Road. So during those 4-week period, we are hopeful that the pavement will be ground and it'll be 2-lane traffic. So we won't anticipate doing any resurfacing during that time. So the traffic will always be 2-lane on Green Bay when the detour traffic is sent to Green Bay Road for Weston.
Is there any idea, of course, for the projects that we have control over, we're using a finer mix, but for the Waukegan Road, do we have any influence to use the Gultra mix for that project?
Just to clarify, Alderman Novick, just at the Public Works Committee, recalled the Winnetka mix to Gultra mix. So I'm gonna stick to Winnetka mix. He has the luxury to say it as a Gultra mix, but IDOT does not. Since Waukegan Road is under IDOT jurisdiction and they have a much larger volume, the Winnetka mix is a good mix for low residential, at least 5 to 10,000 ADT average daily traffic. Whereas Waukegan Road is anywhere from like 30 to 50. So they go with what they call is the standard mix design, which is what we call a hot mix asphalt, which is a different mix design. So they'll go with their regular mix design and they won't do the Winnetka mix for Waukegan Road.
Okay, thank you.
And again, so of all these 4 projects, I think the major project is the one at 176 and 41. That's the overlay for the bridge, and that's the IDOT initial report. I'm sure Bob must have sent you that they wanted to close it down for 6 months, entire 41, and Lake Bluff and Lake Forest talked to the IDOT, and so they're willing to do it now on a, so they said, because that's how they bid the contract. Somehow somebody missed it, and Lorig, who got the job, he bid the job saying that I'm gonna have the whole 4 lanes to work on it. So Lake Forest, Lake Bluff put the pressure on, so they agreed to do it on 1 lane. They'll do mostly nightly, similar to what they did before, nightly lane closure, but there will be some daily in the morning lane closures too, but at least there will be 1 lane of traffic on 41.
What are they doing there?
The bridge deck, they're on 41. They're resurfacing 41.
Over 41, they're redoing the bridge.
They're not changing the access.
176 over 41, they're not changing access, anything, it's a
No access.
structural issue
Yeah,
they
structural.
identified a year or two ago that they've got to come back and really improve that bridge deck.
So they're gonna close one lane at a time? It's 2 lanes each way, right?
Right,
Right.
it's 2 lanes. Yeah.
But when they're working underneath, you've probably seen this elsewhere, where they'll close one lane and then they'll
Move it over.
They'll
move it
route
over.
all the traffic. The one year,
But what that's gonna do is it's gonna throw a lot of, as 41 then starts to back up and people find
Waukegan.
alternative routes, it's gonna push them to either Waukegan or Green Bay Road.
And so are we starting 176 after we get done with Waukegan? No, because the state
it's
just wouldn't think about that,
Yeah.
would they?
Are they putting in an extra lane on the bridge?
no, I can check, Alderman Morse. I don't think so, but I'll
Might
check.
be a good idea.
So
We'll
they
be
are
selling
doing,
too.
they are doing it at the same time they're doing Waukegan?
Yeah,
Yes, they will start. But again, Waukegan, on the day of the grinding, you'll have the backups, but it's a simple grind and resurface, so it's not like, days of lane closure, so it's not gonna be that traffic impact compared to. But I think we are more worried about people going through Green Bay Road, cutting through Green Bay. That's more of our concern than so much. Waukegan can handle, it's 50,000 cars, Green Bay is like 10 to 15, so our concern is more on Green Bay side.
Ramesh, is there any thought that while work is being done on Route 41, that some of the truck traffic that came onto 41 while 294 was being constructed may migrate back to 294, and at the end of the day, we might actually see less truck traffic on 41?
I think that is one of the, that's a good point, Bob. I think with tollway construction now back to 4 lanes in each direction, most of the truckers do like to use the tollway, but again, 41, they don't pay any toll. And so that's the other aspect of it, is like they like the free tolls on 41, and they like to stick.
There was a
to-
report out today, I heard that the tolls were going up, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true too.
And last year you had work on Grand Avenue further north, then it was down to 1 lane, so it's similar. And it
Right.
didn't really reduce.
Yeah, what they do is like they'll repair they'll take out 1 lane, the 2 lanes in each direction, and then they'll repair that 1 section, have 1 lane traffic, and then switch it back. So same concept here.
Can you remind me again what the schedule is for Western?
Western Avenue right now, we are hopeful that between Deer Path and Westminster, paving, everything is done by May 2nd week. May 15th is our deadline to get that entire block done,
Both sides?
both sides. Tomorrow is the concrete pour on the west side. Tomorrow you're gonna see the concrete pour. They're gonna start on the patching at the end of this week. And then next week, middle of the next week, we're gonna switch the traffic. If everything goes on schedule, middle of the next week, we're gonna switch the traffic, and we're gonna work on the east side. East side, the work is simply laying the curbs and putting some special event electric boxes, and then grind and pave. So again, if weather cooperating, we are hopeful that the week of May 10th, we are paving it and open up everything, get it done by May 15th, and then move south from Deer Path to Vine, work on the west side, starting that week of May 17th.
And
this on tape, right?
Yeah, right.
Again, I said weather.
you've gotten good weather so far.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a nice week.
And they've been working.
Right.
No, I said weather dependent.
Will we switch the direction on Western when we go to do the other side, I assume?
Right, and what we did was, David, last year, we had, a lot of, there was few complaints saying that, we had the entire length of block, we did the entire east side and we had 1 lane traffic for a long time. So what we're gonna do between Deer Path and Vine, when we do the west side, we are gonna have a 2-way traffic. There's few parallel parking spots on the east side, we're gonna eliminate that and we're gonna keep 2-way traffic.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah, because that was the comments we got from the public hearing, and also, so we're gonna keep 2-way traffic when we do the west side. We'll get the west side done, open up the park spaces, and then we're gonna switch to east side. That's the time we have to reroute to Green Bay Road, because we can't have truck traffic through Illinois because of the overpass there. So that's the only time we're gonna have a detour traffic.
One thought, if you're anticipating Green Bay Road experiencing heavier loading, I wonder if it might be worth the effort to put in some counters to see at what point the road goes from D to E or F or whatever, just so that you know factually, because we've often thought that we could have more traffic in the business district. You're now going to be able to find out what that more traffic looks like. So if you, you know, you might consider trying to actually capture the impact of that extra traffic.
I mean, put some traffic counters on Green Bay Road when we're doing the
Well,
detour.
people are doing the, yeah, they're gonna go to a different route because of the repaving of the deck on the bridge. You may want to just sort of look at that and see if you think that you would get any germane data from evaluating what the results are.
Yeah, we can certainly take a look at it, get some counters in, sure, we can do that.
Thank you.
You done? Okay, we have a
Thank
little
you.
more here. We have the SSA for the Holland Court, of which, again, the bids came in a lot lower than we thought, and the good thing about that is for the residents on the street, instead of, we estimated at $2,936 per year for 15 years, they're only going to have to pay $1,567 per year for 15 years. So it's
Very nice.
We missed pretty good on that one.
Yeah.
Howard.
Yeah, it looked like it.
big savings,
Yeah,
big
but
savings.
It's the
So-
right way to mix it.
So some of the residents may just pay it all off at once,
What
even a better
happened on
deal.
that? Why did we miss so badly? Not that I'm complaining, but it would have to be the one that the residents are paying for, you know?
It wasn't the asphalt cost, it was the underground.
Right, it was more for the, that's what we noticed even on Western Avenue and last year Waukegan Road, all the underground contractors, it's like cutthroat competition. Asphalt prices didn't drop much, but they were just shortchanging on the storm sewer and all the earthwork were just, we just got some great prices, and then concrete prices didn't go up, so that's where most of the savings occurred, was only on the underground contractors.
Yeah, the answer is what you're saying is there's fierce competition for underground work right now because there's no state work.
Right, no state and
There's no
private
state
work.
funding, there's no federal funding, so anyone who's still in business is looking for work and the bids are coming in very competitive.
They are.
So it's a good time if you're out to do this kind of work and we're taking advantage of it, so kudos to the city of Lake Forest.
Yeah.
Well, kudos to the residents. This started
End up
at
winning.
a ward
This
meeting.
is- Yeah.
Yep, it did.
Started a ward meeting of the suggestion, and city staff did a great job.
Thanks.
And the residents got behind it,
Started
and
with the down.
it's worked out well.
Cable in the backyard, remember?
Exactly it.
And then the next one that we'll be asked to approve is a contract for the pavement management program. And that is, we go through and inspect all the streets. There's a machine that goes by and gets a reading on how well they're doing. We've been doing that about every 5 years. That amount will come under the budget of, it'll be $70,000 out of the general fund for that. And we're gonna also run that on the roads that we've repaved so that we get a basis on where the road is new and where it is 5 years from now.
Yeah, I think that's gonna give us some interesting data, because we're certainly hearing a lot about streets. And some of those streets feel like they're streets that
We'll know the entire amount.
we haven't quite gotten the useful life out of that we thought we were going to,
Correct,
so.
yeah.
Well, and especially to contrast those that have curb and gutter with those that do not have curb and gutter, and I think that'll be a good telltale sign in terms of what is the impact on the useful life when the absence of gutters.
Yeah, I want to correct myself too. We budgeted 70,000, but it's going to come in at the 40,000 level, which is another considerable savings. So, we have good news from Public Works. We have a upcoming schedule through January of next year of all the additional other items that we're gonna need to be covering, so. In a short period of time, we get an awful lot done. Thank you, staff. That's the report.
Great, well, thank you for jumping in and saving us some time on the council meeting. If there are no other matters of business for the Finance Committee, I'll ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned, council meeting at 7:30.